So we combine the desire to see Africa be sustainable with a keen focus on how do we build individual businesses to become influential in their marketplaces. Now, when we're talking about the customer avatar deep dive, which is what we're talking about today, we are saying we want to understand who we serve so that we can position with precision. The thing we're doing this time is to ensure that there is enough clarity in our minds about what we're doing so that when we meet our customers, we recognize them as if they're old friends. That's really the focus of when we talk about the customer avatar deep dive. All right. So it matters that we understand our avatars because too often we say we know our customers, but when asked specific questions about their fears, their motivations, their buying triggers, their objections, how much they're willing to spend, then we become very vague in our answers. And what we're trying to do is ensure we are so clear, and clarity comes from understanding. When you are clear about who you are dealing with, then your messaging stops being generic, your pricing is confident, and our sales conversations are easy or easier. They're easier, right? So we're trying to move from harder conversations to easier conversations. We're looking for certainty about who is in our market, and we're looking for specificity as we talk to the people. So here's a question I want you to ask yourself. Just take a piece of paper and write. Okay, in this space, we always have a notebook or your phone or one. Open a new tab in your note-taking app or your notepad in your book and answer these questions. When was the last time that you had an actual conversation with a customer? Not a transaction. You just met your customer and you chatted. When was the last time you had an actual conversation with your customer? In fact, if you can, let me see it in the comment section. When was the last time you had an actual conversation with your customer? Or those ones of how are you, what's going on, what are buying patterns, what has changed, what are you enjoying about our program, all those kind of conversations. When is the last time you had that kind of conversation with your customer? Okay, I figure that you are probably done writing that one. The next question, do you understand what keeps them up at night? Do you understand what keeps your customer awake at night? Do you understand what keeps them up at night? And it could be a yes or a no. If you do, jot it down. And question number 3, are you building around assumptions or insights? Now, I'd really like to see the answers for this. If you're building around assumptions, let me see an A in the comment section. And let's be real with ourselves. By the time we're done, we'll be in a better place. So if you have built around assumptions, put an A. If you have built around insights, put an I. And let's see how many of us are on the right track. And please note, there's no correct answer. What a reflection does, it shows us where we are and it allows us to move to a different place. So how many A's, how many I's? If you have so far built around assumptions, put an A. If you have built around insight, put an I. Okay, I can see there is an A. And you know the truth is, when we started at AMC, there was a measure of assumption. So we used to be around A. Now we have moved to I. All right. So I've seen a couple of A's, then I've seen one I, and then there's an AI, which means there's a mix hapo katikati. That doesn't mean artificial intelligence. It just means assumptions and insights depending on the different products you have. Excellent. Why is this a good starting line? Because when you know where you're coming from, you can easily map where you're going to. All right. So let's jump in feet fast. A customer avatar is not just age, gender, location. That could be a part of it, but it's not just that. Neither is it a random profile created for a business plan. Although many of us are guilty, we do this thing where we kind of figure out who are we serving when we're putting our business plan together, maybe to get money from funders, from the bank, to convince other people that we're serious. and it is not a fictional character disconnected from reality. Because when you're doing what your avatar is, you want to understand exactly who your customer is so that the day you see them, you know them. If you're sitting in a restaurant, you can tell that person could be my customer. If you're out networking, by listening, you can tell who your customer is. What a customer avatar is a clear profile of a specific person for whom you are solving a problem that they experience repeatedly, and it bothers them so much they are willing and able to pay for it. That is who your customer is. So that's the avatar you're creating. You are looking at them and you're understanding their pressures, their pain points, motivations, fears, decision drivers. And then you're using this as a tool to inform your messaging. So if I'm selling products to Gen Z, there was a time where we say, let's give them a round of applause. Now it is clock it, right? So then if I go into the audience, it could be easy. Let's give them clock it. And the whole audience is there. Us audience are like, yeah, what's going on? So depending on who you're serving, you need to be able to clearly identify them. And remember, we said last week, when you define your niche, you don't define your niche and you get comfortable because your audience changes. So if your audience is changing, then that means that you need to be aware of potential changes, potential timelines. Our audiences change, give or take, every 6 to 15 months. So what are we doing in that timeline to keep tabs of them? So then it is tool, a tool to keep us relevant, a tool to influence our messaging, a tool that influences pricing, offers, and strategies. Because the strategy I'll use for a retiree is different from the strategy I'll use for a high school graduate, depending on what their pressures, motivations, fears, and decision drivers are. So there are a couple of non-negotiables when we come to looking at avatars. One, problems matter more than preferences. What is the problem they're experiencing that if you solved, they would be absolutely happy with you? Problems matter more than preferences. And because we know that emotions drive decisions, what are the key triggers to their emotions that signal what we need to put on the table before them that they will actually decide to buy? All right. Then context shapes behaviors. So there will be slight differences in behavior of an urban Gen Z, peri-urban, and a rural Gen Z. There will be slight differences. So how you will speak to each one will be different. All right. And then specificity builds confidence. So if you come and tell me you generally help people, I'd be like, listen, why am I even listening here? But if you come and tell me that you help young people who are dealing with insomnia to find better rest, then we can listen because I could be reminded of one of my young people who has insomnia, and that becomes a way that I can refer somebody to you. So if that is beginning to make sense, let's put a YY in the comment section as we continue. So your non-negotiables are problems matter more than preferences, emotions drive decisions, context shapes behavior, and specificity builds confidence. Now, there is a framework that we will be using, and from this point on, I want you to work with me. We will turn it into an exercise. So have your writing material, whatever it is, close to you. The framework we have where we move, thank you, Sally, I see you, move beyond surface level thinking, we need to define 5 core things. Number one, the situation, where they are right now. What does it look like? What are they experiencing? Number two, the struggle. What problem is pressing enough that they want change? All right. Number three, the stakes. What happens if nothing changes? Okay. Number four, the shift. What outcome can are they truly hoping for? What outcome can desired and promised outcome can really drive them to ensure they buy that particular product, or they use that particular service, or they choose you over your competitor who bought a similar product or service. All right. And finally, the barrier, what usually stops them from acting. When we're able to map this, then we can add the regular demographics. All right. Remember, we said this is a deep dive. All right, so let's get going. While we're doing this applied example, think about your business, think about your product, think about where you work, how you deal with your customers, and make this practical for you. Because the applied example will take us from vague thoughts to precise. So, starting point, which I call point zero, I come and I tell you, I help entrepreneurs grow. So, point zero is, what do you currently say? When we ask you who you serve, what is your current answer? That will be our starting line. So if you have that down, please jot it down on your gadget, your piece of paper, wherever you are. Why does I help entrepreneurs grow sound funny? Because it's so broad. We have people who are still thinking about it, those in the ideation stage, those who are just launching. We have those in the what we call pre-seed. They are just trying to get their feet in the ground. Some are they're pre-revenue, ones are pre-revenue. There are those who are post-revenue, but they've made 1 shilling. There are people who are scaling and expanding. So entrepreneurs, which ones? All right. Because this lacks clarity, it means I'm talking to everybody and nobody. So I hope you've written your starting point. What do you currently say? So the scenario we're using is somebody who helps entrepreneurs, that people like us. All right. So what is the situation? There are a lot of businesses in the phase of 0 to 3 years. There are very, very many. For most of those businesses, their revenue is erratic, their processes are inconsistent, they're active but do not have enough traction to be sustainable, and they're grappling with how to position themselves because there are many businesses that look like them. Okay? So that's the situation in the market. We have such a large number of those kinds of businesses that what happens in the long run is that we actually struggle and we grapple to stay afloat. So even as we have reduced the number of businesses, because we have removed all businesses over the age of 3, we still have a very large number in this place. Okay. So that's point number one situation. What is the struggle? Many businesses in that stage feel scattered and threatened because they are just trying and testing things. They change direction very often. They also don't really have a clear picture of who they're serving. So if it is a shop, tunauza kwa kila mtu. All right. Many of them could be Me Too businesses. Like, let me use an interesting one. I don't know if in your hood you have the Mutura guy, that guy who stands by the roadside. Okay, now who we got like two of them in probably in 200 meters, we have two of them, right? There is one that has been there for about 2 years now. There's another that's maybe about 6 to 8 months older, younger than the other one. But there is one, because of its location and its space, it is frequented by the Gen Zs. This other Napakwa corner is frequented by a slightly older demographic. Why? The guy who positioned where the Gen Zs go often positioned next to a smoky guy, a smocha guy. So right there you get your mutura, you get your smocha. So in the evening, you find that specific demographic standing around these specific two businesses. And guess who joined them? There's a maize vendor now. What are they doing? They have figured that these guys like a certain kind of outlay, they like a certain kind of setting, they want space. You'll find the corner guy doesn't have as many people, but up where the Gen Zs go, it is busy. It is busy. So what has happened is They have figured out, these three have figured out how to provide the different elements of what this generation is looking for. And you see, when you think about it like that, we'll come back to this example of the person who serves SMEs. You have to identify very clearly what they're looking for. These guys want variety of sauces. The guy of Smocha has variety of sauces. They want fresh, hot roasted mutura. That's a fair price. So they will come and they will rally around there. And what are they doing? They're doing their evening hangout. So that's how you identify them. So back to our example, these businesses feel scattered. They change direction often, don't know who they're serving, and are tired of trying everything. So the core issue is unclear positioning, a lack of focus, or they're just young, right? So when you're young, you're trying absolutely everything to figure out what works. So that's the struggle of the businesses. If we don't have those businesses, what is at stake? Inconsistent revenue means unstable businesses, means business closure in a couple of months. It means frustration, lower confidence, burnout. And at the end of the day, it's financial, relational, and emotional distress. Okay? So if I'm coming in to work with this set of businesses, what I must be able to do is identify what will happen in the long run if they don't get the right support. So that is the stakes. So if you're in the health business, if you're in, you're trying to get people healthier, and maybe you're looking at what? Winnie, I don't know whether you still do tallow. Tallow is an alternative cooking fat that is made from it's from the cow, and it's healthier than a lot of the other ones we do. So what is it? What is the stake for the person who doesn't use tallow or who doesn't get the healthy cooking fat they're looking for? It would be that there's a compromise on their health. What could that lead in? That is all these lifestyle diseases we have, there could be obesity in there. So then you're looking at, if we don't get this to them, if they don't get the healthy oil they're looking for, what do they lose? What do they stand to grapple with in their health? All right. Maybe for Shiro, you who's doing board games and community outreaches, what is the community lacking? What will they lose if they are unable to be a cohesive, connected community? What are the gains they will not be able to attain? And you map it out financially, relationally, socially, emotionally, all those alleys that we have, psychologically, spiritually. What does the community stand to lose? When you can map that, then you're able to map the shift they are trying to attain, because you have mapped where they are, you have mapped what they stand to lose if they don't address the problems they have. So then now the next thing you map is, how do they shift? So what do they want? In this instance of our support organization for SMEs, the SMEs want clear direction. They want to know who their customer is. They want predictable traction. They want predictable income. So what the transformation we are seeking to do for them is from scattered effort to focused positioning, which equals reliable income. Are we together mpaka hapo? If we're together, please put a YY in the chat, in the comment section, so that I know that I have not lost you. If I have lost you, ask a question. All right? Kama tuko pamoja, ask a question, because I want us to be sure. Excellent. I can see we're together. Fantastic. So the shift is, you have to define the transformation that will be valuable to your audience, because we're doing the avatar of our customer. So we've looked at situation, all right? We said we looked at the situation, which is the age, and we have defined it around this. And then we've said you look at the struggle. What are they grappling with? what is the core issue that is disturbing them. Then we've said, what is the cost of not solving that problem? And then we map. So this is what it looks like. We define the shift, okay? But the final question we ask ourselves is, what is standing between them and the transformation? Tuko pamoja. So what is holding them back? What is pushing them aside? In this instance, they're held back by fear. Many of us don't want to choose a niche because what if we choose the wrong niche? But not choosing a niche is already choosing the wrong niche. Anyway, so fear of choosing the wrong niche, fear of losing opportunities, because when you niche down, you reduce your addressable audience, but you don't lose because you pick the audience that is realistically addressable. All right? The other fear, the other barrier could be the inconsistency. Today I'm there, today I'm at 100%, kesho nimechoka, I'm down to 50%. Another day I'm too busy, so I'm at 20%. And we have these yo-yo cycles. So then the barrier is inconsistency. So therefore, I'm looking for a specific kind of people. Okay? So then here we create a statement. Remember when we were doing our definition of what we do, we talked about who we serve. So now, having looked at all those elements, we can come and say, I serve early stage businesses. Remember, our businesses are 0 to 3, the ones that we're just for the purpose of this example. Early stage founders who are struggling with unclear positioning and scattered effort. They want confident direction and consistent traction, but are held back by fear of making the wrong choice and inconsistency. Now, when you meet that person, it will take a conversation and they'll be like, these days you can't be sure of the market, people are changing, we don't know. You can hear from the complaints they make where they are. You will now build the questions you ask your customers and the promises you make to your customers based on these things, held back by the fear of making the wrong choice and inconsistency. So your pitch could be something like, if you're an early stage business struggling to know how to position yourself and what areas to focus on, or if you are held back by fear or inconsistency, we can help you do boom, boom, boom. All right? But this avatar then lets me know that if I meet you and you say your business is 5 plus, you're not part of my target audience. Because we have clearly said early stage founders struggling with unclear positioning and scattered effort. Did I put my own hand up? Sorry. So what does that mean? That means then we are absolutely clear about who needs our help, where to find them, and what to offer them. Are we clear until there? So do we want a minute or two to write our avatar statement, avatar clarity statement, before we go on? There's a little bit more we need to do. So can you see where you are beginning to focus? Can you see which of these 6 stages you need to focus on? Is it possible for you now to see in your avatar definition where you went a bit off? Many of us, and it's not a bad thing, but many of us are stuck at age, gender, location. And don't worry, we'll factor that into this conversation. However, when you start from this place of their situation, their struggle, the stakes, and the what? The situation, the struggle, the stakes, the shift, the barrier, and then the statement, then you're better able to map who your customer is. So that the day you meet them, it's like meeting a long lost friend. You're like, I know you, I got something you need. And You're also less pushy because you're trying to get everybody. You can also listen into people who are at further stages, see what they're grappling with, and bring it back to train the ones you have 0 to 3, and then you get an added advantage because your positioning now is precise. All right. Okay, so let's hop on a little bit so that we catch up with our time. So we add demographics. Now what we have, the first 6 points we have is depth. Now we add demographics for precision. So just by this example, when we're preparing for it, we figured early stage businesses are age 27 to 38. Why? The younger people are more prone to start businesses because they have a longer time, especially in economies like ours. So as we get older, we are more conservative. We do have people stepping into businesses. So there may be some who are older, but the bulk, because also of the fact that there's not as much employment as there used to be. So more and more younger people are going into biashara. So that's where the largest proportion would be. Location, urban East Africa, because that is where we operate. Business stage, 0 to 3 years. Revenue, inconsistent monthly income. And you find many of us will make 100K this month, 10K next month. So we're looking for those ones whose income is erratic. Education level, I university educated, neither here nor there, consumes online business content, perfect, because they're looking to grow. It shows they have an interest and an urgency to take up agency and do the work. And then working context, maybe operating from home, shared workspace, very often likely to be a solopreneur or co-founders. So what you see, the demographics now sharpen the clarity because then you could choose to focus on supporting the older generation in transition. So we have some people coming out of employment and you go to support them to set up what they're doing. Or you could support the younger ones. But here you have further use demographics to refine and sharpen your clarity. All right? Then you come and rewrite it. So you give the avatar a name. So if you have a lady, and gentlemen, forgive me, I should have done a male version also, but I was trying to keep our time together. So we say it has to be a real person. So we have Sarah, who's 32, Nairobi-based founder, 2 years into business, left employment to build a venture. Her revenue fluctuates, is active online, but unclear in positioning. But is afraid that narrowing her niche will limit her opportunities. And because of everything that's available, she's overwhelmed by advice and wants confident direction and handholding. You see how when you meet Sarah, you will know her. You will know her because there are certain cues you're looking for in the conversation. You're not knowing her by looking at her and saying she looks 32, she looks kama kona biashara, anaonekana kama ana struggle. She's looking like she's struggling. No, 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 no. The conversations you're having, there are cues you're looking for. How long have you been in business? Well, 2 to 3 years. Check. Where are you based? Well, I'm Mombasa. Okay, check. Nairobi, check. Nakuru, check. Kampala, you can do that. All right. And you set out to start your own venture, maybe because of employment, maybe because you didn't find something in college to do, or you had a contract that ended and you can't get it renewed. But then our income has been inconsistent. So how is business? It's the way it's up and down these days. Some months you do really good, some months you do check, check. So it forces you to listen clearly and ask leading questions without looking like you are, the word in my mind is kusorora. Please give me the English equivalent. You are looking for too much information. You're digging too deep. All right? That is how turning your avatar into a real person gives you such clarity, clarity about who you're talking to. All right? I've done that. Now you ask, what does her space look like? What are the tensions in the space? What's on her desk? Not literal desk, but what's on her tray? What does she have to do? What is she thinking about at 10 p.m.? What keeps her up at night? Or what keeps him up at night? What is she afraid to admit publicly? Because as business owners, Kunas, we don't talk about in public. People we have on business number 15 can tell you you're unserious. But it could be 15 years over a longer period. And it could be that some of them failed because you are running three businesses concurrently and you did not have the capacity or the teams to keep that going. Now, when you ask these questions, and there are different ways to ask them, this is now where strategy becomes empathy because you're not serving someone incapable, unskilled, inefficient. You are dealing with misalignment. Many of us struggling where we're struggling because of misalignment. One of the biggest things I've found interesting is when you go online, if you're like me, you like looking at AI tools, you hear people talking about tools. This is free, this is free, this is free, this is free. Then you go and you check. And because of your location, it is not free. So what you find is a lot of the content we find online is misaligned because it is free if you're in the US. But if you're on the African continent, there's a monthly fee to it. And then you realize it's not even a nominal fee. For some of these things, it's $25 and above per month, right? So then you realize these are not working. So you begin to look for tools that are affordable or free that are available on our continent. I'll give an example. I follow one minister of the gospel and she keeps encouraging us, if you agree with this, type amen, type amen. And she keeps getting emails of you're just looking for numbers of how to make money. Predominantly, she's on TikTok. So it was interesting that she had to come up and explain to people, listen, for likes and comments, we don't monetize TikTok in Africa. There are other ways to monetize it, but not that way. And what happened was the people who were coming with those complaints just want to, they have a very specific way that they think. So for her, she knows that's not my audience. She will not be rude to them. She will respond to them. She will answer their questions, but she will proceed. And her prayer movement has 3,000 people strong every morning for prayer. Are you going to focus on 2 to 3 people who are whining? You will listen to what they say, but it will not make you diametrically shift because that is not who you're talking to. All right. So when you have your avatar looking like a real person, you ask yourself, what has changed now that I can see this person clearly? Instead of posting generic content, you ask, what would make them stop scrolling? What would speak to those fears that she has highlighted? What would reduce her need to decide, decision fatigue? And what would move her to focus traction? So, what it helps you do, it helps you refine what you say, refine what you offer, refine the price at which you offer it. Because now you know how often she's online, so how much content she can consume, how you direct her to the right place. Will she stay content or will he stay content once they find a product they like? And what are the decision-making issues that they have? So clearly defining your avatar is a push to clarity because clarity reduces friction, both for you as the business person, business owner, employee of the firm you work with, and for your client. I'll never forget I signed up for a course. At the onset, it was amazing. The sign up process was easy. And then they said $20, you get access to Zoom training, one on one coaching, one on one mentoring. And then we get into class and they say, sorry, if you want one-on-one, okay, the guy for $20, you do the class on YouTube. But you promise us a Zoom room. If you want to be in the Zoom room, it's $55. So now you have to pay an extra $35. And then they had said everybody would get an assessment from the coach. She says, you are 40. You think I can do all of them? I will only do for 5 people in the Zoom room. At every turn in that course, there was a disappointment. There was a lowering of expectation. To date, when I see that particular coach online, I pass because I had a very bad experience. The offer was said one thing, the experience diametrically different. So when you're mapping your customer, you're mapping them to ensure that you meet them at their point of need and they will open their wallet and they will pay for your service, they will enjoy your product, they will come back because it is easier to upsell to an existing customer. It is cheaper to upsell to an existing customer than to get a new customer, which maybe one day we need to talk about customer acquisition cost. What does it cost you from the first moment of contact to when your customer buys from you? All right. It is easier and cheaper to upsell an existing customer. I will talk about my product, my beauty product lady again. Remember, I told the story last week. I started by sunscreen and body butter. Now we do sunscreen, body butter, body lotion, cleanser. We have day cream, night cream, glow, hair oil, because every experience has been excellent from her. The place we had a bad experience was last mile door-to-door delivery, so we stopped. But her product, I will always look for. How did she do that? She mapped us. People with sensitive skin who want handmade products at an affordable price, easily accessible. She mapped us. And then if you look at her product line, she's really looking for families. So then she connects with, more often than not, the mothers who now get their product, get for the children, and now there's a whole range of products for the men. By finding people with sensitive skin who want natural products, which are locally made and easily accessible and affordable. So in our case, they may not necessarily be a demographic in terms of age, because there's a large variety of us. Because now even well, I'm a demographic and I've got my mother onto the product. Okay. So here's another reflection. In the beginning, we looked at where we're at. Have we had a conversation with our customers? So as we begin to land this plane, this is our next reflection. All right. Have you defined your avatar, customer avatar, deeply enough to describe their desk, to describe their daily activities, to describe their life? Have you defined them deeply enough, or are you still operating from abstraction? Remember, we asked at the beginning whether you're dealing from abstract or insight. All right. And then what demographic detail changes how I position my offer? Why is this important? Because this lets you know whether or not you're on track. It lets you know how closely you know your people or how distant they are in the scheme of things. All right. So do we have a question? Do we have an insight? Has something stood out for you that you would like to mark? Do we have a question before we wind down completely? You can just raise your hand if you want to speak or put it in the chat. Any questions? Alrighty. Realize I need to think more through and respond sufficiently to the question. Excellent. Absolutely excellent. One of the things we like to do with these sessions is these sessions are trigger sessions. We want to use them to get you to think deeply and to figure out what else do you need to think through to get to the place of serving your customer well. All right? So here's what we call forward focus. When understanding deepens, marketing simplifies, sales conversations shorten, offers sharpen, and your confidence increases because you are absolutely clear who you're talking to, what they need, why they're in your space, right? And you see, your confidence increases because as your offers sharpen, you are able to meet needs better, right? Good to see you, Syria. Clarity is therefore a strategic alignment, is not marketing polish. You see, if I know exactly who I'm speaking to and what they need and how they need it, then I will connect and I will meet the respective need. I'll give an example. T-Bags here is doing something very interesting. It started like a joke in December, and she's been very consistent with it. It was talking about the 31 shift, which is 31 things, I think it was 31 shift, 31 things that she needed to shift before the new year. And like a joke, I challenged her, see, you do this every day. She has been so consistent. Now there is a group of us who follow. And where is she putting it? On her status, WhatsApp status. You know what it has given birth to? It has given birth to a little devotional. Why? Because somebody asked her to put something together. When she was starting, she was not quite sure who she was focused on, but as she has gone along, it has clarified. So sometimes you are able to explore this with a free product, with a devotional. I know people who do devotionals every day, or an inspiring thought, and then you figure out your market from that segment. And then now that's the market you turn to a different product. So when you understand who you are serving, how you are serving, exactly what they need, then you're able to come back and simplify your marketing, shorten your conversations, sharpen your offers, and increase your confidence because you're turning things around. So understand that understanding is respect. When you take time to understand the person you serve, last time, 2 weeks ago, we did market. Last time we brought it down to niche. Now we're bringing it down to the person. Why are we doing that? Because we want to build trust. Because people buy from people they know, they like, and they trust. So many of us are known, but have we moved to like? Have we moved to trusted? Many of us are chasing attention. We're putting flyers out there. We are putting program. Do we have traction? That's why if you look at us as AMC, we are good to go with the numbers we have. Why? Because we are tracking growth and we are adjusting programs for scale. We are tracking how are people, who have they become? If you remember the end of last year, we took 4 members of our community who shared their journey. And then we sat down and we mapped our year, what worked, what didn't work, where did we get, where didn't we get, what are we planning to do in 2026? And off that last Traction Lab, we set out what we are learning in 2026 because there are corners we have passed, there are roads we have filled, there are potholes that are done, dusted. But we still come back and we do maintenance. because trust builds sustainable businesses. So if you are there and looking at the things you're doing, my hope is that you now have tools that you can go out and map your avatar and know exactly who you're serving and be precisely sure of how you are serving them and focus on that demographic of people. When you focus on that demographic, what happens? You build trust, you build a clear knowledge of who you are, which over time then increases your capacity to sell and monetize. So thank you for listening. I'm open to any more questions if there are any. Otherwise, I hand it over to our very able Joe Mukoko, the original Joe Mukoko, I must say. Understanding the customer is easier and feels more direct for a product when you can track individual customers. What of the product where the customer cycle is quite big? Explain customer circle is quite big. Remember we said we come and we narrow down to our community. So let's have a conversation about that one. How big is your customer circle? And give me an example of a product that where the customer circle is quite big. If you look at the soft drink market, let me give an example as you clarify your question. We all drink soft drinks, right? Let's even look at water. We all drink water. However, based on price points, there are products that you know are out of your reach. We have the ones that are 20 shillings, the ones that are 30, and the ones that are 50. This is the half liter bottle. When you go to a hotel, that same bottle you can buy for 60 outside kwa supermarket is 180. So there are very many people drinking water. But certain brands have reduced the size by location and cost. There are things you find in the big five supermarkets. Ukija mtaani, they're not there. Mtaani is a different set of water vendors. In fact, in places like our hood, you find even the guys who refill the bottles have had to come down because there is somebody who hasn't locked a price. So even when you have big customer circles, the rule is the same. You cannot serve somebody who you haven't mapped. So you could map, you could be like let me use Excel. You could be like Excel who have mapped their customer segment in a nation of 50 million, their target is 10 million. But the characteristics of the 10 million are the same. They want affordably priced waters. They're looking for affordably priced diluting juices. And they also have another line that mimics the Del Monte ranges. But they are all based on what people are able to pay. So even in those juice in the imported juices, in the packet juices, there are juices for 700 bomb and there are juices for 130. The quality, of course, will be different because the person looking for the juice of 700 is looking from an international brand package. They don't, So even in those mass markets, you can still and you must still define your avatar. So this is not just for markets of 20,000, 40,000. You do the same thing. In fact, the larger audiences, that's how they map their markets. I'll give my one last example. When Safaricom designed Fuliza, it was for traders. It was for people who go to the market in the morning at 5 a.m., borrow 5, 10,000, buy product, come sell, return the money. If you remember how Fuliza started, your money had to be paid back the same day. It was not designed for you and I. However, over time, they discovered we can expand this product. There's another group of people over here whose income comes slowly, but it comes. So in a month, they can pay us back. Make sense? So they expanded the demographic, but the initial demographic was traders, mama mbogas in the markets. That was their initial demographic. Mama mbogas across Kenya are many, but their characteristics were the same. And okay, even gentlemen who go to the market, because the guy who does my shopping in the market is a guy. But it was tracked to people who were in the market by 4:30, 5 a.m. And by 5 p.m., they have moved this product and they're able to pay back before the night is over. So then you don't pay daily interest. And it blew up because there were so many people who that is all they needed. You don't have to get what's the word, qualified by a bank. You just need to have the capacity to pay back. So I hope that helps with that question. Excellent. Fantastic. Over to you, the original Mukoko.
Let me make maybe a comment on sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Shiro.
Hi. So for me, is to appreciate that, from between when we did the mapping and now where we are today, like, mentioned out my aspect of doing the board games. Initially, it was an idea. I have them on the ground. But what happened is like the place I got now, the room I ended up getting, I'm in the shopping center. Yeah?
Yes.
So I've gotten a place whereby it was a running shop. And now the lady who was, like I said, I'm really interested, doing goodwill. Of course, they don't understand the language of goodwill here. But she was like, her insistence was like, you have to buy what is ongoing to have the room. So sort of we met halfway. But now, like, that's why the other time, I think it was not during the niche when I said it's under pressure and, you're not sure what to do because I'm right outside near a market. So these are mama mbogas and kadhalika coming and wondering, how come wewe hauzi unga? Mwenye alikuwa hapa alikuwa akiuza unga. So it was actually giving me and my target now is totally different because it's students who are, have a nearby technical institute. But now from these conversations, I've now been able to like clearly put it like, this is not where I am. So tuendelea mkikuja mtakuwa mkinunua yenye mmepata lakini si you. So what I wanted to say is like from the conversations, actually now today has just grounded it completely that I'm in the right place, or rather I'm in the right space because like every day they would come and say, mama unatukosea uzi unga uzi, but now I am confident with what I am doing. So I wanted to comment that to say, whatever it is, at times we don't ask questions because, okay, let me put myself in me. I keep on saying, Naita Subira, where did she get it? Is she seeing me? Is she on top of my ceiling? Is she? So at times, even when you don't hear me asking questions or maybe the other person, and I love what somebody says, you're deeply saying, Hiya, you mean this is reality? You mean this is reality? So personally, for me, is to appreciate that I am now comfortable and 100%. I'm in the right track. So thank you for the great job you're doing. That was my sharing.
I love to hear that. I'm glad it has been helpful. Application immediate. All right. Thank you, Shiro. Over to you, Joe.
Thank you so much, Shiro, and thank you, Coach Chesubire, for that deep dive reflective session. Remember, if you do not understand your market, then you get to struggle. Thank you for taking us through those steps, what we can do, and even when we are scared, what we can tap into to make sure that we deal with our fear. And on a light note, can you stop being on people's ceilings? You see now, they think you're on their ceilings, then there's a problem. Shiro, I can assure you she's not on your ceiling. This is based on the feedback that we always get every day we deal with entrepreneurs, and they're able to give us information. So thank you all of you for being here today as we move along and we build sustainable businesses. That's our mandate at ANC, making sure that we can work with you beyond today to tomorrow, next year but one, next year but two. If there's something like that, I know there are Toastmasters in the room. I'll carry flack, but it is okay. These discussions we are having, you heard Chesubire talk about them, are curated based on the conversations we've had with you. Last year, we ran the shows from February to December, and we kicked off this year. So these conversations were as a result of the feedback that you gave us. One of the things that we pride ourselves in at African MSME Collective is we love feedback. We enjoy feedback. We thrive in feedback. Feedback allows us to sharpen our knives, sharpen our skills, but most importantly, serve you well as the entrepreneur. So kindly take a minute or two and give us feedback about today's session or what else you would like to learn or to pick from us. Taking into consideration, these conversations are so reflective. So as you sit there, remember you're a catalyst and I am a catalyst. We are catalyzing each other and we are moving together. So if there's something that pops up that you think, hey, yeah, I want to learn more about this, please let us know. We appreciate that. We we have someone who is hawk-eyed and makes sure that they go through the feedback and they always ask for improvement points. So we actually due for our quarter 1 review at the end of the month. Please make sure you do not miss our last Tuesday March conversation. Awesome conversation happening, our quarterly event. We shall be bringing 2 other panelists on board, even as we sharpen our knives and make sure now that we've decoded these customers, they do not slip through the cracks. Thank you. For those of us who've not yet joined our community, it's called the Circle. There is the link. You can join the Circle. You can send it to your friends. You can share it with your partners. You can share it with your colleagues and your teams. Our work every day is to empower and inspire you as a leader to be able to grow, achieve your full potential, then drive positive change in yourself and in the community you serve. We are catalysts and we learn from each other. That ripple effect continues growing and you continue supporting your enterprises. So thank you very much. We are also looking forward to you joining the Women in Digital Business. And remember, as I said, it's not just for women. I also did the course. Very insightful in terms of how do you position your business in the digital space? What are the things you need to look out for? And what else can you be able to do? Our initial charge was 10,000 shillings. We pushed it forward to 25th February. Reason being, our sponsors have asked us they are partially sponsoring the participants and only the participants from the circle, right, Chesubire? Yes. So if you belong to the circle or you have a friend, you can come and talk nicely to. No, don't talk nicely. Just send us an email. If you are part of the circle, then the discount will apply. But our sponsors have so generous.
We lost Joe. We lost you for a second, sir.
Where did you lose me? In Kakamega or in Mombasa?
Ulienda Chitwitwi.
Oh no, I'm here. They've not yet discovered gold in the farm. So, like I was saying,
Let me actually give you an update on that one. This
thank you.
price is now available for everyone.
All right.
As long as they sign up before next week. After next week, it's a different story. But yeah, sign us before next week will definitely open price to everyone.
Please tell our sponsors we said thank you. Then the other course that will also be running, I think, at the end, not I think, at the end of the month is the Biashara Basics. That one is still under sponsorship. Still cost remains 5,000. We will give you more details, but we shall also circulate it in the community. Most interesting twist to this, we had a meeting with our backend team and our coaches, and they have requested and we've kindly obliged. We shall give 2 coaching sessions with this program. Midpoint, it's running for 8 weeks. Midpoint, a coaching session, and at the end of the activity, a coaching session. So if you'd like to sponsor someone or do it yourself, please register. We are here. Thank you. And we are here to answer more questions. Allow me to thank our sponsors and our partners, AFI Solutions, China Publishers, Regroup, Shala Global, the Cube Innovation Hub Eldoret, Akiko Stories, Haki Integrated Services, SOA Events Institutes, Aura Essentials, Thai Events, Conscious Works Consult, Zurich Consulting, and Business Support Africa for stepping in to make sure that we can keep the lights on and we can keep talking. We've already launched the Biashara Basics. We have other products that run, Enabled and Sprout and Scale for the young ones. You shall be hearing about it very soon. Schools are almost closing, so we shall talk about it. Then you can be able to bring in your students and your children. Allow me to thank our back office team, Miss T-Bags, Miss Mimo, Miss Julia, Mr. Kwe, Miss Wamboi, Miss Felicity, and Miss Grace for ensuring that we are here, we are running, we don't stop, helping with all ends from operations to marketing to reaching out to communicating. So when we tell you build a team, we are also building a team and we are growing. I think at the beginning of last year we were 3, now we are 7. Hey, we are growing. This is God. We thank the Lord for the blessings. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. We're 12 minutes over. Allow me to ask Chesubire to come and give us her parting shot as we close. My name is Joe Mukoko. They call me the original Mukoko. One day Chesubire will explain why they call me the original Mukoko. But thank you so much for joining, ladies and gentlemen. We work together, we grow together, we move together, we change the world together. Last week I gave you 20 words you are not able to exhaust. So 12 words today.
12 words.
Okay, 15.
I don't think I even need that many. We're pursuing clarity. So define your avatar to ensure clarity.
We are pursuing clarity. Define your avatar to ensure
clarity.
Define your avatar to ensure clarity. Ladies and gentlemen, we wish you well as you go out to decode your market this week and get ready to serve them with the skills, talents, resources, and abilities that God has given you. From the African MSME Collective Studio, we wish you a good evening, a good morning, a good afternoon, a good day, wherever it is you're joining us from. And thank you to our international audience. We appreciate you guys. You're blessed. See you next week.
Thank you, and bye, everybody.